According to Forbes, quote, more than 7 million people worldwide are deaf, end quote. When hearing parents have deaf children, they need to make some hard decisions. One of these includes whether parents let their children go to a fully deaf school or an oral school. This is a type of school that focuses more on teaching children how to speak. It is best that the parents do learn where this type of school comes from. Alexander Graham Bell was not only the inventor of the phone, he was also the one who started oral schools. To cite ICPS 2019, the first oral schools for the deaf were established in the early 1900s. This has been part of a deaf history for a long time, and it is important to know why Alexander Graham Bell did what he did with this. According to Greenwald, Bell's 1983 speech to the National Academy of Science, published as memoir upon the foundation of the deaf variety of human, was called to promote oralism. Bell noted that deaf people tended to marry each other, and he argued that if they continued this pattern, a deaf variety of the human race would form at a critical period in American history. This shows his intentions in starting these schools. He did not want to do this for the betterment of deaf people, but instead to reduce the number of deaf people in the world. He saw this as a stain upon the world. He wanted to make them like everyone else by teaching them how to speak. He also assumed his learning program was something everyone could accomplish just because his wife, who was also deaf, managed to do it. Instead of helping deaf people learn the language they already had and building a sense of community that they already had with their culture, he assimilated them. This is why he did what he did to sign language in oral schools, and this specifically, going back to the article by Greenwald, we get some additional information on how Bell treated sign language in the classroom. Bell identified signing residential schools, deaf newspapers, clubs, and associations as factors that encouraged the use of sign language and deaf intermarriages. Since he wanted to stop marriages between deaf people, he took away sign language from the classroom. He attempted to erase the unique culture that signing had in deaf students. Despite his best attempts with sign language, it's still around today. Yet who knows how it could have thrived back then had Bell not taken it away from so many deaf people. Maybe it could have been something that's more universally known instead of waiting for deaf people to assimilate themselves into our society. This topic particularly stuck to me ever since I saw this documentary, Seeing Through Deaf Eyes, that was provided in one of our assignments. I feel like it is important to know the bad side of historical figures. I got even more disillusioned with the image of Bell the more I learned how he removed signing culture, that it was something so important for deaf people. The most interesting part of my research was the CBC article about the testimony that came from someone who went to an oral school. He reported that he was disciplined for just using sign language. He was made to feel shame for using sign language, which means that this type of thing is still happening today. It's not something that was only restricted to the 1800s. It shows that even now, the legacy that Bell left is darkening the doorstep of deaf people, and parents need to take into account this entire history before they make the decisions on deaf children, because it is something that could very much affect deaf people today. And these are my sources. Thank you for listening to my presentation.